Hey, this is William Schultz with the New Marketing for Your Small Business podcast. And man, do we have a really great episode for you today. We are talking to two mortgage professionals about how they utilize marketing to build and grow their business. I'm bringing my buddy and client, Holly Nelson from Bay Equity into the mix. She's a huge proponent of using social media marketing to grow her business. And Luke, who are you bringing to the table, my man?
Well, I am bringing Kelly Tanky from Summit Mortgage, and she is an Instagram pro who does a lot of fun, educational, podcast-related content, video content. She really does it all, and she's going to be bringing her expertise on marketing from the mortgage industry.
So listen, guys, if you're a mortgage professional, a real estate professional, or just a small business owner or a marketer, this is going to be a great episode with a ton of content. We get into a ton of different topics and ideas, and we go down some rabbit holes that I think you guys are going to really appreciate and get a lot of value from. So enjoy the episode. And hey, man, tell us what you think. Leave us a comment. Let's go.
The New Marketing for Your Small Business podcast. Delivering the latest opportunities in marketing to help your small business grow and prosper in a digital world.
Welcome to the New Marketing for Your Small Business podcast. We're so excited to have you guys here today. And we have special guests today, but I will get to that in just a second. Let us introduce ourselves. I am Luke Porter with Moving Tree Media.
And I am William Schultz with Vivid Concepts Media.
And our two very special guests today are Kelly Tanky from Summit Mortgage and Holly Nelson from Bay Equity Mortgage. And Kelly and I know each other through a networking group, through an awesome BNI chapter called First Class Connections. And we've been together in that chapter for it was about a year and a half, 2 years ago.
Oh, yeah.
Something like time's weird with the pandemic and everything. You know?
That it is.
So we've had the opportunity to work together on some marketing projects, and it's been a lot of fun. So that's how I know Kelly. William, why don't you let us know how you know Holly?
Yeah, I met Holly through a mutual friend of ours who was a realtor. Geez, Holly, what do you think? That was about 7 years ago, 7 years ago.
I would say.
Yeah. And I think, I don't know if you were fairly new in the business at that time. I don't
brand
remember.
New.
But,
about brand new.
Yeah. And so we had met at an event. We were trying to put together an event where I worked as a restoration salesperson, and I was connecting with insurance agents. So we wanted to put an event together with an insurance agent, a realtor, a restoration construction company, and a mortgage person. And it was an absolute disaster because nobody showed up because because it just wasn't a well put together plan. However, the greatest thing that came out of that was I met Holly, and we kind of maintained a relationship over the years via social and some other things. And now I do some social media marketing and content creation for her and her business. So it's been a pleasure to get to know her and just, work with each other. It's been very great. Well, I'll shoot you first here, Kelly, and then Holly, you can follow up too as well. How long have you been in the mortgage industry, Kelly? And how have you seen it evolve since you first got in?
It's so funny. So Holly may know this name. I bumped into this individual yesterday at an event. His name is Nick Dreyer. Does that name ring a bell, Holly?
Yes,
Nick Dreyer is somebody who's been in the mortgage real estate world for a very, very long time. And it was funny just recollecting, he asked me, he's like, remind me when you got in the business, Cal. And I said, 2017. And he goes, really? I feel like you've been in it a lot longer. Like you got in and you went deep quick, like meaning I built relationships pretty early on with individuals. So it's interesting hearing a perspective from somebody else in the industry, like how long they think I've been, but I started in 2017. So I'm still kind of in this phase of having my training wheels on, and they're starting, one of them is off and I still got another one there because, there's still so much to learn in this industry. I'm sure Holly can attest to this as well. It's things change so much.
Absolutely.
With mortgage guidelines and stuff on the real estate side too. So it feels a lot longer than what it really has been.
And Kelly, well, how long? And so you've been in it, a decent amount of time. How has it
Yeah.
changed since the first time you were in it? How's it evolved over that time?
Oh gosh. Well, I mean, I know that a lot of our conversation today is going to be centered around that social media and marketing component. And so I won't bore you with the details of like guidelines that have changed because we went through a pandemic too. So there was a ton of guideline changes during that. And now some of them are starting to go away and re-implement of new guidelines. So there's just that. But then on the marketing and social media side, I feel like when I first started, nobody was doing video. Hardly anybody was. And I remember talking to a fellow friend of mine who owns her own marketing business, Amber Rose Bierke. Luke knows that name. And she was like, when I first met her, she's like, get your face on social media, do videos, and do them now. Like you should have been doing them yesterday. And that was it at the very beginning of 2019. And now fast forward to 2022, and it's like everybody's doing video and trying to like recreate how they do that and how creative they can get. So it's interesting.
Absolutely.
But I'll say, and I'm sure Holly can attest to this too, but like, as long as you're being authentic on your video, nobody cares.
A great word.
Do it.
It's one of my favorite words, authentic. Yes.
So
yeah, and I think that's something that both Luke and we talk about a lot in our content and just with our clients is just being yourself and using that is your true niche is yourself.
Yeah.
Everybody can recite the same words and the same statistics and everybody has great customer service. But at the end of the day, I always say people grow who they know. So if they get to know you and you let them know who you are, that's where the true connection is. Holly, so tell us a little bit about your journey. How long have you been in the mortgage industry and how have you seen it change and evolve over the time you started?
I joined the mortgage industry, I believe in 2013. I'm just right around that decade mark. I came from a background of retail for also almost a decade. That retail background helped support me and what I was doing in my life at that time. Raise kids, work the crazy hours, be present for the family. After doing that for a decade, I found an opportunity to get into the mortgage industry by being an assistant for a couple of loan officers. That's how I got my foot into the door. I did that for about 6 or 7 months and decided I want to learn how to do this. It intrigues me. People are getting help financing and owning a home or just talking about balancing a budget or a dollar. Those were never conversations that we had in my household growing up. So when I found this new industry, it just really opened my eyes to all of the opportunity that I have to not only build a life and design my life through a business and through a career, but and also other ways I can help the community. I give back. I've created this brand or this imagery that I'm a female in the industry and I'm licensed and I'm a tough gal. I get the job done. And so after being an assistant, I got licensed, and fast forward, that's kind of where I'm at now. I'm in 4 different states. I'm in Minnesota, Wisconsin, Florida, and Colorado. I have a team of support underneath me that help process the loans because, as Kelly knows, in the mortgage industry, there are a lot of hands in the honey bucket. It takes a lot of support to push a loan from beginning to end. Most people don't know that. Most people really don't know. I mean, I work with realtors who've been in the industry for a few years now, and they still are surprised by the amount of paperwork and processing and logistics and timelines and how everything has to fall just into place for everything to close on time and for everything to be successful.
So I have a question for you. You had mentioned like realtors have been in the business for many years. Maybe you can, that kind of leads us into that follow-up question. So, how has your industry changed over the years? You'd mentioned realtors. I got to imagine that you've done marketing strategies with realtors and partnered up with them. How has it changed from when you first started to where it's at now in terms of marketing your business, growing your business, things along those lines?
Absolutely. Kelly had already mentioned the changes with guidelines like technology. I mean, those are really huge. Those are really huge changes, and they happen daily, especially since COVID. And so one of the things that I've seen with realtors, whether they're new agents, older agents, or whatever market I'm working in, whatever state I'm working in, they are now seeing this opportunity to find education, right? They're reaching out and saying, hey, this guideline changed, or hey, I heard this on the media or the news. Can you kind of dive into that with me a little bit better, kind of educate me? And then I use that as a resource to maybe co-brand or co-market with that particular realtor. So I've given you the education. I've brushed you up to the updated guideline. Now, how can we put that tool in our tool bag? How can we now go, give that to the community or give that to the people that are looking for? So I see that's changed a lot in terms of realtors maybe getting a little bit more aggressive with the lenders wanting to do some co-marketing. In the past 2 or 3 years, the industry on both the real estate and the lending side, which is where me and Kelly are at, we're on the lending side. We like to call it the dark side, but we're on the lending side. And on both sides of those tables, the market has just been saturated, just flooded with realtors and loan officers in the past 3 to 5 years. So now it's this great opportunity to weed out the realtors who maybe this isn't working so well for, with the realtors who want to stick around. And those are the ones that I research and market with. I'll reach out to them and say, hey, what kind of need can I provide to you? We have drip campaigns, we have joint marketing opportunities. We have a program called Giving to Heroes, where your realtor and your lender can give, real money back to the client at closing, no hidden, nothing. So there's lots of different ways that I think I've really seen the industry mold itself in the past couple of years, especially towards technology. When we were all locked up and on lockdown and COVID and can't go here and there and all of these other things, I think we've all become very creative on how we can be an extension through social media or video messaging to our client, to our business partners.
Yeah, agreed.
And both you guys mentioned social media, so let's hone in on that. Like Kelly, you do a lot on social media. You do stuff on Instagram and LinkedIn. You have these really fun stories, fun reels. You do educational stuff. You have a podcast. You post stuff from the Summit Mortgage blog. So with all of these different pieces you have, all these different types of content, what are you seeing about how different people react to the different things you do?
It's interesting. And I want to say thank you first and foremost for sending over the list of questions so that I could prepare just a little bit. Because I did start thinking about this. I know like a subset of that question is like, which of the platforms do you see more engagement, or like what kind of posts do you see more engagement? It's the videos. Truthfully, the videos where like, Luke, I think you call it the talking head, educational, like talking head. People love that. So the engagement with that has been quite impressive. But I mentioned the word authentic. And so what I really try to do is incorporate some personal branding in there alongside with the educational mortgage videos and the On a Mission podcast stuff. So I've found, maybe I'm being a little tangential right now, but I find like when I do a video, like it could be a random video and attach some like saved audio music to it, there's so many views that come out of that. And it's like, sometimes it doesn't even have to have anything to do with the mortgage industry. But because there is that component, like say on Instagram, where I've got some of the personal stuff plus the mortgage stuff too, then all of a sudden I've got more followers now. It's the strangest thing ever.
And I get this feeling that just based on what I see, Instagram is your platform of choice. Is that right?
Yes, totally. I love it. I just love being able to like scroll through like videos and stuff. That's more my passion. So
some of the stuff you do is a bit more on the silly side, like the blooper videos and the dances and stuff. Do you see those getting more engagement than the educational stuff, or is it about the same?
The blooper videos are always a hit, and I get so many compliments and comments after the fact. Like at the event that I was at yesterday, somebody who I haven't done business with yet. I hope to do business with them in the near future, but he complimented and commented. He's like, your blooper videos are incredible. And he was like, I wish that I could do blooper video stuff, or I could just do videos in general. I was like, well, what's stopping you? Like, what you can do it just like I can too. So,
Holly, you've also, invested a lot of time and a commitment on social media. Maybe you can talk about some of the different reactions you're getting from the audience and, the people that you're engaging with. Talk about, I think you had even mentioned the other day in a conversation we had that somebody had mentioned they had started seeing some of your sponsored content on social media. So maybe you can kind of talk about some of the feedback you've been getting from maybe whether it's your page followers or friends and family.
Lots of likes by different strangers in different pockets of the market. I mentioned I'm licensed in Florida, Colorado, and Wisconsin. And so it's very neat to see that I'm extending that far and getting some, just some messages, even if it's somebody I don't know and they like my post. They'll put on there, thank you for posting this, or thank you for noticing that we are a pool of people that are within your audience or something, and I use that in particular because I'm a dog lover and animal lover. So we use the dogs a lot for our content pieces. I give a lot back to teachers and firefighters and educators, healthcare providers, law enforcement providers. So I get feedback from those folks as well who see my content running on social medias for those certain programs. I will say the worst feedback that I get is from my own self. That's probably I'm my own worst critic.
Isn't that the truth?
To Kelly's point, where she met somebody and said, I want to do this. I want to do this. I remember being in that same spot too, Kelly, 3-5 years ago, thinking, gosh, I need to get out of my comfort zone. I need to hire some help. I need to find help. I mean, that's a key as well. Hiring the help is so key. I'm a really big believer in practicing your craft and getting really good at your craft and not having your hands into so many different crafts at the same time. Because then, we're not really giving that customer service to our client, right, Kel?
Yeah, fair enough.
Or our business partners, right? So I'm careful to spread my...
I'm sorry, not to cut you off, but do you think is that why it was important for you to make it a financial investment into marketing and social media marketing in particular, because it's going to free you up to be more present for your current clients, potential clients, and then also give you the room to grow as a on-camera personality and learn more about yourself and what your brand is?
Absolutely. All of those things. I mean, you hit all of those things on the head. I mean, all of those things in a package. And to me, marketing isn't just one thing. It's an umbrella with all of these things underneath it. And so for me and my schedule, I have my family life, I have my business life. I'm a busy gal. I don't have the time to manage social media content. I don't have time to create the content or to learn the analytics or to find out how to run an ad, or, trust me, I have no qualms with self-teaching me to do anything, because that's the type of gal that I am. However, my focus is in my craft. And you are really good at what you do. You understand these things. There's professionals for people who are meant to help you do what they do best, right? A doctor, a lawyer, attorney, a loan officer, a marketing guru, whatever your profession is, we have to hire that help. And so it's created a really nice, it's alleviated a lot of pressure off of my back by having that extension of help. And also it's given me a better quality of life. I have more time with my children now, right? I have more time to build my team or do things logistically that aren't necessarily a part of the sales and the marketing and the branding. It's almost like an engine. Those things have to be going all the time, even when you're sleeping. We're not robots. So how do you do that, right? How do you kind of get outside of your head? How do you start generating this idea to bring it to life? I like Instagram, like I'm on Instagram. I do the stuff there, but Facebook, as my children say, are for the old people. So that's my go-to when I have to, check out or engage out or, whatever. That's my go-to. So, yeah.
Facebook for the old people. I have to
hang
laugh
out with
at
the
this
oldies.
because that means that's me and I'm 36. You know what I mean? Like I'm not old,
Kelly,
but I grew up
I'm 37.
with
Wow.
like we're not old. It's so funny. I don't mind Facebook at all. But Facebook started when I was in college. It was the jam when I was in college. It was the thing. And now all of a sudden you've got all of these different social media platforms, and it's wild and crazy to me to like try to keep pace with all of it.
And realistically, any business owner, like realistically for me, I'm not trying to be on all of those platforms, right?
Right.
I think for somebody in our position, or when I was just starting out and I first met with Will, it was, what platforms do you want to be on? Pick just a handful. We're not doing all of them. I mean, it kind of doesn't make sense. I personally am not on LinkedIn. I personally view LinkedIn as more of a recruiting tool and to kind of stay plugged into the business. And it's more of a distraction than it is anything that helps me generate a brand, right?
I want to just note something real quick. And I think Luke would agree with me because Luke, I'm pretty sure you were like, LinkedIn's kind of like the untapped social media platform that people wildly underuse. I want to just share a quick story with you, Holly, if that's okay, guys.
Yeah, okay. Absolutely. Please.
So thank you. So I don't know how I ended up finding this particular individual, but it is another mortgage gal. But she primarily is over on the East Coast. Her name is Denise Panza, and she is absolutely murdering it on LinkedIn, and has like this immense following. Every time she posts, she's getting upwards to like 200 likes on it, probably 200 more comments on it. And now I've been following her for a couple of years. I am connected to her, like I've got her cell phone number, and so periodically I'll reach out to her. But she makes comments on LinkedIn about other people who have connected with her, who are relocating to the areas that she's licensed in, and she has been able to help them. And she goes, if it wasn't for LinkedIn, that person wouldn't be a client of mine. And so it's really like, I do yes, LinkedIn is a total recruitment tool, but if utilized in the proper way, can actually be an excellent source of revenue for us too.
And I think the moral of the story too, for business owners that listen to this episode, is that you don't have to be on all platforms, but you have to be on something. You have to be on something in 2022 and 2023, because doing nothing is going to result in nothing. You have to invest some kind of time and or money into social media. If it's TikTok, if it's Pinterest, it doesn't matter.
Absolutely. Something right? more than one, not more than what? 3 or 4. I mean, something when you start out, something that's manageable, because if you spread yourself too thin, what's going to happen? If you're doing this yourself, the hardest thing is the repetition and the consistency. Again, hiring the help who are doing these things for you. Because if you're giving yourself right out of the gate 5 different platforms and you're individually trying to stay on top of those and produce the content, and good luck. Either your primary business with your clients are going to fail, or your marketing that you're being so gung-ho is going to fail, right? Yeah. So it's a hard realization that I had with myself as a business owner, and started redirecting my marketing dollars towards what we're doing now. I spend more marketing money now on my social media content and my marketing branding than I am in any other pool of marketing that I'm doing for my business. This is something completely new that I just started this year. In the past, I've done the things, the billboards, the, creating the ad, the lead generation with the realtors, the, buying the Zillow leads, and doing all of these things that you always hear about in our industry to be successful and capture business.
Yeah.
I've kind of turned my perspective a little bit off of that and jumping into the social media boat, ship, whatever.
Think there's something to be said too about trial and error in this industry when it comes to which different routes you go for that marketing component to help build your business. And I, for one, can say that there have been, a couple moments, two specifically that I can think of that were epic fails, like epic marketing fails. And there was time and there was money involved in those, but you live and you learn.
I
and
remember the story.
Yes. How are you going to know? How are you going to
think
know until you try
to give
it?
value, maybe to give value to the audience, would you mind just kind of doing a quick overview of those stories, maybe without getting too deep in the woods? Because I think they could bring value to our listeners.
Yeah. So this was actually as I was transitioning from prime lending, which is where Holly and I met, was prime lending, to my now company, Summit Mortgage. I met a real estate agent who will just keep names out of this. And she had asked me sorry, I shouldn't even have disclosed the gender there. Sorry, but they had asked me to pay for leads, and it didn't go very well. And I ended up unfortunately, the big mortgage law guideline is that you're supposed to do 50-50. And at the end of all of that, it ended up all coming out of my pocket, and I couldn't come back to her and ask for that compensation. It was just, we were too far down the road. And so it was like, oh my gosh, I just dropped a lot of money, and that went absolutely nowhere. And I just found out actually, Holly and I have had plenty of conversations about team component and partnering with the right referral resources. Yeah. And this person was not the type of person that I wanted to do business with. So that was at the same time. Right. So for me personally, the moral of that story is to, buying leads and doing that 50-50 split with the real estate agent. I just think that we're in a business of building relationships with people. And how do you do that when you're purchasing leads together, when the return on investment of that just doesn't seem to make the most sense logically. And then the other one was doing a marketing ad in a magazine. And I made
that one of those community magazines or whatever. Yeah. Okay.
Yep. And so while the circulation of that is in a very prominent neighborhood, I just am not seeing the return on investment for that. And so that was locked in for a specific amount of time, and just doing the math of going, oh my gosh, that's a lot of money down the drain for not having anything come out of it. And that's the risk you take. Yeah. But lesson learned here, social media is a free source for you to be able to brand yourself as a loan officer, but then use it as a amazing and incredible marketing tool as well.
Luke, when she talked about that, maybe you could even chime in real quick about paying money to be in a magazine in an affluent neighborhood versus maybe running a social media ad in that affluent neighborhood. Maybe you could just chime in on that. I know you do a lot of running ads.
Yeah. The magazine, it might have really high distribution rates, and people running those ads like to tout those numbers, but that doesn't mean that people actually read it. And also a lot of studies done over the last 20 years have shown that our brains have just become more and more accustomed to completely tuning out ads in magazines and print, and even on the sides of websites, to the point where we could not literally tell you a single thing about that ad. It was invisible to our brains, completely invisible. Where versus a well-crafted social media ad, you can put a pin drop in the center of that neighborhood, and draw a 1 mile radius around it. And you can gear it specifically to the characteristics of that neighborhood. And they'll see it just naturally in their feed, along with all their other Facebook posts of their family and friends, or their Instagram posts with all the photos they love. It just kind of blends in instead of being off in this invisible periphery.
I just learned something, Holly. Yeah. Did you just learn something, Holly?
I mean, I did. I mean, it was interesting that he says that, because that's kind of where my mind was. That's where my perception was, without really knowing that his professional side of things, like knowing all of those stats and that actual detailed data. I didn't know that. That's really good to know. And also makes me feel good that my perspective was kind of online. To this point, I recently just got an email last week from one of these prominent magazine folks. Congratulations, Mortgage Pro, this. Also, by the way, we're going to charge you money to be in our magazine, but congratulations. Yeah. I'm like, yeah, see, that's not for me. I'm not that type of lender, right? Like, my congratulations come from my clients who are super excited about what we're doing, or leaving me and my team great reviews, or giving us that referral, that closed deal referral. That's where I'm going to be spending my money on, is those people who genuinely want to care about what we got going on.
Yep. Love it.
Luke, what other questions can we ask these marketing mortgage masters that we have on our podcast?
Well, I think we need to ask them the question that we ask all of our guests. So every one of our guests is going to get asked this question. We'll start with Kelly on this one. What do you think the difference is between marketing and branding?
Oh, yeah. So I saw this question and I was like, what is the difference between branding and marketing? So what I think of when I think of branding is, like, you initially want to couple that with the company that you're with, right? But for me, I go, okay, Summit Mortgage is just a tool for me, and it's the umbrella overhead for me to be able to do my day-to-day mortgage business, right? But the branding is, who am I as a loan officer? How do I represent myself? And for me, like, my word for doing business is always doing it with integrity. Like, always, no matter what, doing with an integrity. And, Holly and I have had so many conversations about people who are in this industry, whether they're real estate agents or they are loan officers, that they're well known and they may have a really great business for themselves, but the integrity that they hold for themselves is just not quite there. And so for me, when I am doing all of my social media and posting and stuff, the brand that I'm trying to build for people is that I love to build relationships with people and do it with integrity for not only the referral partners that I'm working with, but the clients that I'm working with too. I want them to have a great experience, the best customer service, the white glove handle on everything. And so that plays into the branding. The marketing is what I choose to post, right? So, like, I love to do those educational videos. Luke has helped me immensely with that, but that does play into my branding. I am not the person who's totally poised, right? Like, I may dress nice, but when we have those blooper videos, it's like I'm throwing out F-bombs that are being bleeped out.
Yes,
and
girl.
Like, I am not perfect with my videos. Luke makes me look good, but it helps with my branding for who I am as a person. And it's always like, I hope to evoke that I am an integritous person who loves to educate my clients and give them that customer service experience through and through. So I hope that
I love it.
Yes,
answer. I love it. I love it.
No, I think
I'm so curious how Holly responds.
I think it's important to note, you guys. I want to make this note. Me and Kelly know each other from years ago working at the same company. right now, we don't work at the same company. Technically, we're competitors, right? We're both loan officers. We do the same job. She works at company A, I work at company B.
Yeah.
That is a non-issue. When you are professionals and when you truly want to help and you truly want to get better at your craft and your career and be authentic and genuine, all of the other details don't matter. We actually have a tight-knit group outside of our industry or within our industry, but we're all loan officers and we work for different companies. And so outsiders will say, you know, we're competitors, we're competing against each other, but we don't see it like that. I'm always constantly, hey, Kelly, what do you got going on with this? Try this. And she'll come at me and say, hey, have you heard of this? You know, it's this unity and this bond, and it's freaking amazing because we haven't worked together in years. Me and Kelly and a couple of other girlfriends who are in this, you know, in this little group that we have. So I just want to make sure that that's noted, because you don't have to work at the same company. You don't have to be at the same, you know, assembly line to be able to generate your own ideas and talk things out and help each other kind of get that idea rolling. I wouldn't have been able to do this myself. I'm a strong gal. I'm a very type A. I get things done, but this is just one of those things where I needed pushing forward. So having that group of folks that understand, you know, Kelly and my other friends, and just having support in the industry is important. So I wanted to make that very clear on your podcast, because I'm sure you have a lot of listeners thinking maybe they work together and that's how it becomes easy. No, not at all. We totally do our own separate things. And another thing I want to note too, and I'm sure Kelly's been through this painful process because me and Will have, is the mortgage industry has a lot of compliance. I mean, there is compliance for compliance for compliance, right? There's rules for rules for rules. Yep. And, you know, it's absolutely insane. And all of those things are there to protect us. I understand that. I appreciate that, but it certainly doesn't make our lives easier when it comes to marketing. And so one of the things that has really helped me and Will in my process and getting things going is he's connected directly with my corporate marketer, so they can work together through the mortgage compliance rules, which are very sensitive. And so now there's that back end communication, and we're doing things the right way. If we get audited, we're not going to get, you know, slapped on the hands or fined, because the mortgage industry is really legit when it comes to compliance and marketing and social media. And so that's one of the things that I can say that Will and Vivid Concepts has been very, very helpful with me on in dealing with those stress factors. And there was some stop and there was some go, and there were some painful periods of, come on, let's get things going. But everything has kind of a pace to it, and you got to do the things the right way. So if you're looking, you know, if you are listening to this podcast and you guys are in a profession where there's a lot of compliance, definitely reach out to a professional who's going to handle all that for you, because that's a whole job in itself to learn.
But know that it's doable too.
It's very doable.
It is very doable, because Holly is absolutely 110% right, where like there's so much compliance around what we are able to do and not do for posting specifically, and posting as it relates to social media. So when I hear individuals who are like, oh, compliance this, compliance that, I'm like, but there is a way around it. There really is. It's just how much do you want it? And how much do you want to build your business and build your brand, maybe within the business, but like for us, like how we brand ourselves, like I should have probably added this in too, because this question of like, what's the difference between branding and marketing for yourself? When I made a transition from prime lending to Summit Mortgage, the important thing for me was that I could continue to do the videos, right? That is a part of my branding. It really is. It plays into the marketing too, but that was a part of my branding. And so to be able to continue that, I love Summit Mortgage, but if something were to happen and I were to make a transition to a different company, that company is going to know that I'm going to continue that branding for myself. Like that is, who am I? Kelly Tanky. I'm a loan officer, but I like to educate and inspire individuals, whether they are a new client, a past client, future client, or it is a referral partner. I want to be able to educate them. So,
mortgage motivation.
like, what's that?
Mortgage motivation.
Mortgage
Yes. Oh, I love
motivation.
it. Yeah.
Mortgage motivation.
To that, to end with that, Cal, if what do they say? If it was easy, everybody would do it.
Right.
Right.
Mhm.
So, I think for both of me and you, and my personal review I can give myself is, I'm not where I want to be in terms of my goals and where I'm working towards, but I'm certainly happy where I'm at, because I've learned very much. It's a learning process. It can be stop and go. You're going to spend some money, before you make some money, and that's okay. It's part of business. You have
Totally.
to do it. Yeah.
I see Holly's ads, and I'm a loan officer, right? Like,
Yes,
I see her ads.
we both see both of them. We give ideas. I mean, I've seen
Yep.
yours and screenshotted them, sent them to the guys. Like, hey, I like this style. Hey, I like
Yeah.
this. I like
Yep.
this. Like this feel. How can we kind of
All Luke.
work together? I know Luke and Will, the way that they can collaborate. I mean, they have
Mhm.
their own individual styles and niches, and it's just so exciting to see both of that kind of be cohesive.
Yeah.
Well, that's
And
funny
me just
because
kind of say what I
technically,
want, and then you guys do it.
how you guys are technically supposed to be competing against each other. Luke and I are technically doing
Yeah.
exactly almost
Love
the
it.
exact same business, but there is no competition
Love
because
it.
we're
No.
stronger. We're stronger in numbers, and we're stronger when we work together. There's so much
Yeah.
pie out here. There's so many pieces that nobody needs to eat it all, and nobody can
Right.
handle it all. So, instead of looking at him as like a competitor, we kind of like, let's do a podcast together. Let's do some work together.
Inspiring.
Seriously,
It's
yeah.
inspiring to be around
Yeah.
people who are chasing what you chase and who desire and taste what you taste. There's times where I see like a person jogging on the road and I'm like, son of a, now I feel bad. I got to go for a run. That person doesn't even know they just inspired me to get out of the office and get
Right.
moving. Right. It's kind of the
Yep.
same thing where these folks are behind the screen, whether you're a professional loan officer or even you're a client. We're creating some type of human inspiration, some human connections. There's some type of emotion that's
Yep.
going to be baked in that one little, whether you're looking at us for 2 seconds or 20 seconds. So
Yeah. Luke, what else can we ask these guys since we have them here for a couple more minutes?
There's one I've been curious about, which is Kelly, you talked about experimenting and stuff. What stuff is out there that you guys have thought about trying, whether it's a different social media platform, a different type of marketing, something you've seen other people doing? What stuff's out there that you've thought about, but you haven't taken the plunge yet?
Luke, you know what I'm going to say.
TikTok.
TikTok. I just cannot bring myself to do it. I just can't. It's so challenging, but I see so many real estate agents who are doing it and they're successful with it. And it's like where there's a will, there's a way. So I use this platform Hootsuite for scheduling my posts, right? That is how I am able to manage a lot of that because I do it on my own. Luke helps Dina and I with all of our podcast recording stuff. But as far as like my loan officer posts and marketing, I am taking that on myself for the time being, which may be a mistake. And we may switch that here at some point, Luke, because I'm like kind of getting over it. But anyways, Hootsuite has been really incredible in helping to like facilitate the scheduling of posts so that I don't feel this like, oh, I'm spending so much time like posting it to Facebook, posting it to Instagram, posting it to LinkedIn. The reason I'm bringing up Hootsuite, I promise there's a point to this. They're coming out with this like, they're integrating TikTok into their posting platform. And they're coming out with an education series on like best uses and practices and how to incorporate this into your business. And I was like, what would Luke say? Luke would say, do it. And I had created an account before Luke left Sniff BNI chapter. He was like, my ask of all of you guys is to just create a TikTok account. Just create the account and start to like a few things, like what are your things that you're passionate about? That's it. And I was like, freaking Luke, fine. So I at least created the TikTok account. Now I just have to start posting stuff. It's like
just a quick thing I got to mention something quick is just to provide some value to our listeners also is that TikTok is very different than all the other platforms where something like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, those are all based on who you know. So it shows you stuff when you're scrolling through your feed, it's showing you stuff based on who you know, the connections you have. TikTok is completely different. It's called it interest-based. It shows you stuff just completely based on what you like. So it's a very different animal, and not only what it shows you, but how you create content for it.
Yeah, and to echo what you're saying too, Luke, is that I was reading their algorithm not only will show you what you've already liked, but based on what you've already liked, they have the data to show what you might like.
Yes.
And not only what you might like now, but they have information that think you might like this in 6 months from now. So we'll throw it in your face. So if you notice when you go on TikTok,
know what I'm going to do in 6 months. Oh my God.
Well, it's just based on all the data, so you got to figure it like this. If you go on TikTok, you have a button on your left-hand side that says people you follow, and you kind of have your general thing that, hey, this is what we're suggesting. And I'm going to tell you, when I go on TikTok now, I find myself spending my first 5 minutes on the new shit, right? Before I get sick of it and go into who I'm following.
True.
And so, and having, with you saying that, Kelly, this week, as I've seen Luke post more on TikTok, I'm using more TikTok. I'm like, okay, I'm going to start repurposing more of Holly's stuff on TikTok and Instagram Reels, because what we're seeing in our industry on the marketing side is all these other platforms like Facebook and Instagram, they're playing catch up now with TikTok. TikTok's algorithm is leading the way because it's the fastest growing social media network in the history in terms of how quickly it's grown. And it's now selling more advertising than any other platform in the world in a very short time.
So this is where my
we're redirecting marketing dollars is what I'm hearing for TikTok.
Well,
different conversation,
time. Yeah,
I like it. I like it. We'll do the Beyonce drop.
My whole train of thought goes to if it is doing this like algorithm of like showing you things that you may like in 6 months, think about how impactful and powerful that is, Holly, for clients who like maybe they're on the fence right now about purchasing a home, but they have liked a couple of like home videos or like real estate related or mortgage related. And so now the algorithm is, it's pulling, right? I mean, it's like pulling all of your data. We know this to be true. It's pulling all of your data. So it's seeing which sites that you're going to, not just TikTok. It knows all of these other sites and stuff and really anticipates. So it's anticipating that you might purchase a property in a month, 60 days, 90 days, 120 days.
Staying in front. And that is such a huge master marketing tool, staying in front. I had a branch manager tell me when I first started out in the industry, it's like, he gave me the analogy of it's the difference between Pepsi and Coke, right? You're a Pepsi lover. You've drank Pepsi your whole life. Everybody in your family loves Pepsi. You can't even imagine drinking a Coke. But on your way to work, every single day, you take the same drive to work. And every single day you see that billboard for a Coke. You see it going to work. You see it coming home. And every day for, we'll say, a year, you're driving past that billboard. You will absolutely 1,000% be getting a Coke within that time frame. It's just, and I believe, and I didn't really understand it or believe it 10 years ago when he told me that. Now that I'm doing the marketing and you're staying consistent and things are staying in front of your face and they're just kind of popping in and giving you those little nudges when they need to. That's what that explanation is kind of triggering in my brain, is that story. And I believe it. So, well, very good, TikTok. I guess we're going to have to make some sillies, huh?
Might I just add too that if you're not a Coca-Cola fan, we can't be friends.
I love Coke Zero. Come on now. I
had my first,
stop
by the way,
with the ingredients with it.
I had my first Diet Coke in what felt like a very, very long time at a closing today. I was like, oh God, that Diet Coke looks so good. I'm going to have one.
Was it good?
Silly. It was so good.
Today's episode was brought to you by Coca-Cola.
You're welcome, Coca-Cola.
Yeah, you're very
Use me.
welcome.
All right.
Use me.
612-801-4047.
All 5 of our listeners are going to be rushing out getting Coca-Colas today. So as we're getting close to wrapping this thing up, I do have one more question I'd like to ask you guys, and I'll start off with Holly here. What advice can you give small business owners and that are listening to this podcast? What advice can you give them about trying to grow their business through marketing or just in general?
The best advice that I can give is I'll give you three best pieces, because you know me, I'll give you like 10 or a whole list of them. The first one is create a budget. Realistically look at your finances, your expenses. You know, your business is not your personal. So look at your business expenses, your business budget, and put a plan in place that supports that budget. Don't go over the budget. Don't, stay really consistent through the whole year within that budget. And if you're going to market social media, you're mostly going to use that budget for social media, right? So you're going to use maybe 60% of it to, run your ads or hire help or whatever. 40% maybe is your other things that you got going on. But I would definitely say setting a budget is going to help bring some things to light. If, we do numbers, right? So we're numbers people. Things have to kind of show us, have to tell us a story and show us things on paper through numbers. And so that's the first thing that I would do and advise is, what can you afford? And then what do you want to get into, right? Of all of these plethora of platforms around, which ones are you utilizing individually and which ones do you want to target? Where's your audience? I personally select Facebook, TikTok, what else am I? Instagram and YouTube. So I'm on 4 channels. And, I've had resistance from folks saying, well, why aren't you on this one? Why aren't you on that one? Why aren't you on LinkedIn? Da, 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 da. That was my personal decision because that's how I'm running my marketing platform. Right. Mm-hmm. And the way that I'm running it right now doesn't necessarily mean that's how I have to run it forever. Right. We're trying these out. And that's another key piece of advice that I can give folks is trial and error. Be patient, be consistent. One of the things that I appreciate that me and Will have is the trust. Me and Will have had conversations, I would say direct, maybe some bold conversations about, how I want to see things or how I want to put myself out there, just the ideas that I have. And Will is very good at taking that and, being a professional and just talking through it and making it happen. And that is a huge trust factor, especially when you have a budget and you have dollars in play. So number 1, set up your budget. Number 2, select your platforms. Don't pick them all. Number 3, stay consistent. You got to do it. And if you're not going to do it yourself, you got to hire the people to do it for you. I will 1,000% say if it wasn't for Will pushing me to do this, make this video, check on this, stay on top of this, hey, upload this to the drive, or giving me even my passwords to my logins. I mean, just something as simple as that. I mean, there's been times where I can't get in and I'm like, seriously, can you dumb it down so I can get in? And it's that having that relationship and having that. So anyways, there's my rambling there. I think it's one of the best decisions I could make in my business, being where I'm at now, is getting this marketing relationship going, hiring the help and staying consistent. I wish I would have done it 2-3 years ago, but there's no time for the right time, right? If you keep waiting, then it's just business that me and Kelly are going to get, right? Yeah. I mean, if our competitors aren't doing this, that's just, hey, they're going to see us before you.
Yep. Kelly, how about you? What advice do you have for the small business owners out there, how they can grow their business through marketing?
So Holly hit the nail on the head. Just nice job. A couple things though. There's no better time than now. So just do it. Just do whatever it is that you want to do. I think that a wise person once told me to kind of piggyback off of some of what Holly said. When it comes to your marketing dollars, you should probably anticipate 6 to 10% of what your anticipated income is, and I might be wrong with like that number may have changed, but that was the wise piece of information that I was once told when it comes to like where my marketing dollars are going. And I have really tried my best to utilize that and keep that at the forefront of my mind when it comes to all of the sort of marketing. Right. Exactly.
Love it.
So that's just a piggyback off of what Holly was saying. So to keep that in mind, but do videos. Like if there's one thing I can say that is going to help your business is do videos, whether it's like there's so much information that you can be presenting no matter what industry you're in. And the key thing is like, how do you dumb it down for people? Because we're in it on a day-to-day basis for mortgage, right? So we're like, it's like we're quick as whips now. Like it just comes naturally, like the back of our hand. We know it that well. That doesn't mean our client does. So how can we educate them? And it really does mean dumbing it down. So like if you're in a manufacturing company, you may not think that some of that stuff is interesting, but how can you dumb it down and make it interesting at the same time? And it doesn't have to be a long, lengthy video. Like we know that the shorter the video, the better, really. So because people's attention spans are just so minimal now, and we can thank social media for that. But just no better time than now, and just do the videos. And the more your face is out there, the more people can, go, okay, I'm going to align with that person. Like, I love that. That sounds great. Like, I don't know anything about this particular industry, but that I understood. Like, I get that. That makes sense.
Or they know what they're talking about, right? They have some confidence and some gumption and some goal maybe into their education or their bid, or, just within your presence, you're confident. And I think that creates a lot of curiosity as well, right?
Sure.
I think just being on social media and putting yourself out there gives us goal and gumption, right? But then, so now you're walking the walk, but can you talk the talk? And I think when we can kind of meet both of those things in that 20 seconds, that's creating that opportunity of, I need a mortgage service. Or Kelly, I remember seeing this really cute video of the mortgage ABCs about what an appraisal is. I'm going to call her, right? I mean, we've created this little sting in this little impression, right?
Yep. Yeah. And stay consistent too. Like it means like you're just doing one video per week, which can do the trick, but there should be other things that you're posting as well that can play into what is it that you do? What are some educational components that are not necessarily video focused, but can still provide expert convenience, if you will. So consistency is key.
Luke, anything you want to add? Anything out there that you can think of?
Well, what jumped out in my mind from what they were both just saying is that it's not just consistency, but it's about not taking on more than you can handle, where you might say, I'm going to make a video every single day, 7 days a week, I'm going to post a video, but
my gosh,
it's not sustainable. That's just it's a hard thing to ask for a busy small business owner. Yeah. So keeping it something that you can manage as well. And then as far as what you said, Kelly, about how you just got to start, I think that's what holds a lot of people back, is they think like, if I'm going to do videos, I need the right equipment. I need to go buy a video camera. I need lighting. I need microphones. And then I need to learn how to edit. So I'm going to go take all these classes on how to edit. And then they never get started, where really all you need is your phone to get started.
I just want to piece one more thing in here when it comes to just doing the damn thing, if you will, if I might say that. Fear is a big thing for people when it comes to video. But if you can keep this in mind, know that your message is far more important than your fear of doing video and nobody cares. You are who you are. You look how you look. You sound how you sound. And so your message is so much more important to get out there for whatever it is that you want your client to know about. And so if you keep that in mind, like that should help like overcome that fear just a little bit, but the message is so much more important, guys. Like seriously, it really is. And so,
and every small business owner should know also, you don't do you just don't do things the way you did them last year or the year before that. Year over year, you get better. Year over year, your goals change, right? And I would imagine any business who wants to grow bigger, who wants to kind of flourish and expand and whatever that next goal looks like. You got to change things up. You got to do things a little different.
I remember the first videos that I did when I was with Prime Lending. Oh my God.
Yeah.
But I did it. And
but you did, and you learned.
Holly's done it. Just keep doing it.
It gives you ideas of how you want to do things again. I mean, over the series that me and Will have recorded, and even with Luke, our most current series is completely awesome versus my very first one, right? Or maybe I'm such a critic, I'm like, oh, my hair and makeup looks so much better on the first one than this last one, or whatever. It's like, Holly, just
I get it.
Well, one thing I can say to piggyback on what you're saying before Luke wraps this up, Kelly and Holly, is that one of my theories about social media kind of goes to what Luke was saying. Now, when you open a magazine and studies have shown that our brain doesn't even pay attention to it, I do believe a part of our social media mind is getting that way, where we don't pay attention to every detail that's being said or everything the way that you look. What we have is a general idea of who you are and what your brand is about. So when I do think about buying a home, or I do think about needing a refinance, I'm going to think about, oh yeah, that girl who's always talking about refinancing, or that girl who's always talking about mortgage, or that cool lady who has her dogs, or, that cool lady who's doing those blooper videos all the time, right? I don't remember what the hell the last thing I create Holly's content. I don't even remember what we posted today, in terms of the details, but I know what she's talking about in terms of the generalization. And I think when you talk about being consistent and posting regularly and staying consistent with your brand and message, that's the key, because people don't hinge on every single word you say, because they're going to go consume 149 other videos immediately after yours. And they just need to see you on a regular basis. And that's where, when you say just get, what Luke's saying, you got to start, and Kelly's saying you got to start, and Holly's saying you got to start, and not think about it. I'm just piggybacking on that. That's probably the most important piece of advice when we're talking about.
If that's the only message, if they're going to fast forward all the way to the end and just watch the end, that's the best message. Get it going like yesterday. Take the jump. Do it.
So on that note, to wrap things up here, we'll start with you, Holly. If people want to learn more about you, where should they go? Like what platforms should they look for you on? How do you like to be contacted?
The platforms I'm on are Facebook, YouTube, TickTok, and Instagram. So you could find me on those. What is it, Will? The Holly Nelson team? Team Nelson Mortgage?
The Holly Nelson team. The Holly Nelson
Thank
team.
you, Will.
So
the Holly Nelson
team. Yep. On whether it's Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, or YouTube. And do you want to give your email address, Holly, or your phone number?
Yep. My website, which is also very informative. You can read more about me, a little bit more about my story. You can check out some pictures of me, read some reviews. I have some really helpful resources on my website, a home buyer's guide, a refinance guide. There's a mortgage calculator. My website is like super stacked for education, and you can find all of that information at applywithholly.com. And my email address, if you'd like to reach out and maybe have a deeper conversation with me, is hNelson@bayeq.com. And I'm licensed in the entire states of Minnesota, Florida, Wisconsin, and Colorado.
Awesome. Kelly, how about your info?
All right. Well, I'm going to start with Instagram. So I'm on Instagram, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook, both personal, and I have a business page as well. My social media handle on Instagram is Kelly A. Tanky, and it's Kelly Ann Mortgage Motivation Gal. And licensed in Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Florida, soon to be Arizona. It's going to be happening soon. What I have utilized is Linktree. So if you go to my Instagram handle, there is a link to Linktree, which can take you to my website. Contact information is in there as well. And it takes you to like my On a Mission podcast stuff. All of that stuff is there on Linktree. So we'll just do that. Go to Instagram and then you can find me, find additional information. Phone number 612-618-4145. Email is ktanky@summit-mortgage.com.
Awesome. Thank you for that. And we'll put those links in the show notes as well.
Excellent.
And I want to thank both of you for coming today. This was so much fun. We got so much good stuff for our listeners, all 5 of them.
Oh my gosh.
People.
We really
the 6th person gets a virtual high five.
I love it.
Yeah, and I want to thank you guys for coming on too. It was really a pleasure to meet you, Kelly and Holly. It was fun to see the 2 of you guys interact. And, actually just sitting on this podcast, I feel like it was inspiring a lot of different ideas and thoughts.
Oh, I love it.
Sure, as Luke and I move forward with working with you guys, and just, it's just a very interesting conversation because it's fun to hear the perspective of our clients, but also your professional, perspective from your business acumen and, your personal experiences with working with us and then just working in general in the marketing. So really great value add episode that I think a lot of business owners and mortgage and real estate professionals should get a ton of value out of. On that note, we want to thank everybody out there, all 5 of our listeners. After this episode, we're going to have 7, so we want to thank everybody out there for listening. And, make sure you find us at the New Marketing for Your Small Business Facebook group. We have a great group there. We're starting to pump a lot of content in there and starting to create some discussion topics in there. And then also check out our podcast on Spotify and Apple. And I believe we're on Google Podcasts now. And then also check us out on YouTube. It's Your Marketing. It's New Marketing for Your Small Business. New Marketing for Your Small Business. Thank you very much, guys. And we'll see you around.
Thank you.